Once upon a time, in a distant kingdom, there lived a powerful king named Reginald, who ruled with an iron fist. His castle was grand, but it was shrouded in darkness and fear. King Reginald was feared by all, except for his innocent queen, Elora, who was kind and gentle. Elora was beloved by the people, but she lived in constant fear of her husband's wrath. Reginald had always been a cruel ruler, but something darker had taken hold of him. He had become obsessed with dark magic, seeking ways to gain more power. In secret, the king practiced forbidden rituals in the depths of the castle. His obsession consumed him, and the once glorious kingdom began to decay under his rule. The castle itself began to change, becoming cold and eerie, with strange shadows lurking in the halls. Queen Elora noticed the change in her husband, but her pleas to stop fell on deaf ears. One night, Reginald summoned a sorcerer known for his malevolent powers. The sorcerer promised the king immense power but warned of a terrible price. Blinded by ambition, Reginald agreed without hesitation. The sorcerer performed a dark ritual, and the king felt a surge of power unlike anything he had ever known. But with the power came a curse that began to take over Reginald's soul. He became more monstrous each day, his appearance growing more terrifying. Elora watched in horror as her beloved husband turned into a beast, his humanity slipping away. Despite her fear, she stayed by his side, hoping to find a way to save him. The kingdom fell into despair as the king's tyranny grew. People whispered of the cursed king and the sorrowful queen who was trapped in the castle. Elora searched for a way to break the curse, consulting ancient texts and seeking help from wise sages, but all her efforts were in vain, and the darkness continued to spread. One day, a traveling jester arrived at the castle, hoping to bring some joy to the sorrowful queen. He was known for his silly antics and infectious laughter. Elora welcomed the jester, grateful for any distraction from her troubles. The jester's humor was light-hearted and absurd, making Elora laugh for the first time in weeks. The jester noticed the queen's sadness and asked her what troubled her. Elora hesitated, but eventually confided in him about the king's curse. The jester, though known for his humor, was also a wise and clever man. He listened carefully and offered to help in his own peculiar way. He suggested that they try to make the king laugh, believing that laughter could break the dark spell. Elora was doubtful, but she agreed to try, desperate for any solution. That night, the jester performed for the king, pulling out all the stops with his ridiculous antics. He juggled, danced, and told the most nonsensical jokes. At first, the king was unmoved, his monstrous form growling in displeasure, but the jester's persistence paid off when, finally, a chuckle escaped the king's lips. Elora was amazed and hopeful as she saw a flicker of her husband's old self. For the first time in a long while, Reginald's eyes softened, and the darkness seemed to retreat slightly. Encouraged, the jester continued to entertain the king night after night. Slowly, the king began to regain some of his humanity, laughing more and more. The kingdom noticed the change, and a sense of hope began to return. But the curse was strong, and the king's recovery was fragile. One day, the sorcerer returned, furious that his curse was being undone. He warned the king that if he continued to laugh, the consequences would be dire. The king, torn between the curse and his love for Elora, was at a loss. Elora pleaded with him to keep laughing, believing that love could conquer the curse. The sorcerer offered the king a choice: continue to laugh and lose everything, or embrace the darkness completely. The king was torn, but Elora's love gave him strength. Reginald decided to defy the sorcerer, choosing laughter and love over power and darkness. The jester continued to entertain, and the king's monstrous form began to fade. But the sorcerer was not willing to give up his grip on the king so easily. He cast a spell that filled the castle with terrifying illusions, hoping to break the king's resolve. Elora and the jester were not immune to the sorcerer's tricks. They saw their worst fears come to life, but they clung to each other for support. The illusions were powerful, and soon the castle was filled with nightmarish creatures. The king, though weakened by the curse, fought to protect his queen and the jester. As the battle raged, the king's old courage began to return. He fought with all his might, determined to save his kingdom from the sorcerer's evil. Elora prayed for her husband's strength, knowing that this battle would determine their fate. The jester, though frightened, continued to make the king laugh, hoping to weaken the curse. In a final act of desperation, the sorcerer targeted Elora. Knowing that her death would shatter the king's spirit, he conjured a deadly illusion that trapped her in a cage of thorns. The king, seeing his beloved in danger, was filled with rage. He unleashed a powerful roar that shattered the illusion, freeing Elora from the cage. The sorcerer was shocked by the king's strength and resilience. Reginald, now fully human again, faced the sorcerer with determination. The jester, sensing the king's resolve, made one last joke that caused the king to burst out laughing. The sound of his laughter echoed through the castle, breaking the sorcerer's hold. The sorcerer, weakened by the king's laughter, attempted to flee, but Reginald, with a swift and final blow, ended the sorcerer's life, breaking the curse once and for all. The castle was freed from the darkness, and the kingdom was restored to its former glory. The king and queen embraced, their love stronger than ever before. The jester was hailed as a hero for his cleverness and courage. The people of the kingdom celebrated, grateful to be free from the tyranny of the curse. But the victory came at a cost, for the curse had taken a toll on the king's health. Though he was free from the darkness, his strength was waning. Elora cared for her husband tenderly, knowing that their time together might be short. The jester, too, remained by their side, offering laughter and comfort. As the king's health declined, he passed his crown to a trusted advisor, ensuring that the kingdom would be well cared for. Reginald's final days were peaceful, surrounded by those he loved. Elora mourned deeply when the king passed away, but she took solace in the fact that they had broken the curse. The jester, too, was saddened but continued to bring joy to the queen's life. The kingdom honored the king's memory, remembering him as a ruler who had chosen love over power. Elora, now the queen regent, ruled with kindness and wisdom. Inspired by her late husband's sacrifice, the jester remained in the castle, becoming a close friend and advisor to the queen. Together, they ensured that the kingdom flourished, and the people were happy. As time passed, Queen Elora continued to rule, but the loss of her husband weighed heavily on her heart. She found comfort in the memories of their love and the laughter they had shared. The jester remained by her side, always ready with a joke or a funny story to lift her spirits. Though he often made her laugh, he could not fully erase the sadness in her eyes. One day, a mysterious traveler arrived at the castle, seeking an audience with the queen. He claimed to have a message from the king, delivered from beyond the grave. Elora was skeptical, but agreed to meet the traveler, curious about his claim. The traveler, dressed in strange, tattered clothes, spoke with a calm and eerie voice. He told Elora that the king's spirit had found peace, but was troubled by the queen's sorrow. He offered to take Elora to a place where she could speak with Reginald one last time. The queen was torn, longing to see her husband again but wary of the traveler's intentions. The jester, always protective of Elora, advised caution, but agreed to accompany her. They followed the traveler to a dark and mysterious forest, where the trees whispered secrets and the air was thick with magic. The traveler led them to an ancient stone circle, hidden deep within the woods. In the center of the circle was a pool of crystal clear water, reflecting the night sky. The traveler instructed Elora to look into the water and call the king's name. Hesitant but hopeful, Elora did as she was told. As she gazed into the water, the reflection of the stars began to shift and change. Slowly, the image of King Reginald appeared in the water, looking peaceful and content. Elora's heart swelled with emotion as she saw her husband's face once more. The king spoke to her, his voice soft and soothing. He told her that he was proud of her and that she should find happiness again, even without him. Elora wept, both joyful and sorrowful at the same time. The jester, moved by the scene, tried to lighten the mood with a joke, but even he was overcome with emotion. The traveler watched silently as the queen and king exchanged their final words. When the conversation ended, the king's image faded, leaving the water still and calm. The traveler then revealed that he was a guardian of the ancient forest, tasked with helping those who sought closure with their loved ones. He told Elora that she had the strength to move forward and that the king's love would always be with her. Elora thanked the traveler and returned to the castle, her heart lighter but still touched with sadness. The jester, too, felt a sense of closure, knowing that the queen had found some peace. In the following years, Elora ruled with grace and compassion, always remembering the lessons she had learned from her husband. The jester remained by her side, a constant source of joy and laughter. Though the kingdom had seen its share of darkness and sorrow, it had also known great love and resilience. The people flourished under the queen's rule, and the memory of King Reginald lived on in their hearts. As Elora grew older, she knew that her time on the throne would one day come to an end. She had no children of her own, but she had prepared a wise and just successor to take her place. When the time came, Elora passed the crown to her chosen successor, confident that the kingdom would continue to thrive. The jester, now an old man, retired from his role, knowing that his work was done. In her final days, Elora often thought of Reginald and the life they had shared. She knew that they would be reunited in the next life, free from the burdens of the past. The kingdom mourned the passing of their beloved queen, but they celebrated the legacy she had left behind. The jester, too, was remembered for his courage, humor, and unwavering loyalty. And so, the story of the king and his innocent queen became a legend, passed down through the generations. It was a tale of love, laughter, and sacrifice, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope and goodness can prevail.